Hey everybody, I want to talk to you today about the importance of following through. Now, I know in my own experience and of course working with clients, this is something we talk about probably every single week. So any of you that are like, is she talking about me? I'm talking about you and everybody else. So I'm definitely not singling you out here, but following through can be really difficult because our head gets in the way and we start convincing ourselves like people don't want to work with me, they don't want what we have, and then also we're like avoiding. So I'm going to raise my hand and say I'm definitely an avoider, and just like personality wise I'm an avoider. And so we avoid failure, right? We do that all the time. Like we're always trying to avoid that feeling of failure. And a part of that is someone saying no. So someone saying, I'm not ready, it's not the right time, like whatever it is. And so we really want to avoid that. And the part of that avoiding the part of how we avoid that is in not following through. So I want to give you a few examples because you've got to figure out a way for you to rewrite the story. So rewrite those fears and things that are going on in your head, because I'm telling you that it's really a fact that the money comes in the follow-up, and it just does. So I want to give you a few examples to kind of help you do that, of like how this works and what you could say just to kind of create a different story. So the next time you feel like I'm terrified of following up, that you can give yourself something to say to kind of come back with that. And so have that argument in your head and actually take some action. So it is true that the money comes in the follow-up. So even when I have people who are on the phone, we're talking about coaching or whatever it might be, whatever way we want to work together, and they say, yes, I'm definitely interested, I don't take payments over the phone. So the reason why is like, I want someone to be absolutely bought into the idea of working together. I don't ever want to feel like I'm pushing somebody. So if someone says, well, I just don't know, I'm obviously like, if I think that we're a good fit for each other and I know that I can help them, I'm going to help them work through that mindset block of whatever it is, whether they decide to work with me or they decide to work with someone else. Like, that's what I'm showing up for, and that's what I'm there for. Um, I'm never going to be like, oh, yes, you can afford this, you should go get a credit card or something like that. Like, that's totally not my style. But the other part of this is that, it's one thing to have a mindset block or to be a little bit resistant. Like, of course, we're all going to question making an investment. Like, who wouldn't? You're always going to think about it. Even if you've already decided that you love this person, they're going to solve your problem, like you're ready, you still want to question, because that's just human nature. Like, that's just how we are. So what can happen if someone says yes to working with you and they're not really ready, they're not really committed to that, is they're constantly going to be finding reasons why this isn't working. So if they are like downright terrified of starting their business and they've decided, okay, well, to get my business going first, I need to have a logo. If they're totally decided that and they're totally scared that they're not going to be able to start their business until they get the perfect logo, they're going to be really difficult to work with, because they're never going to feel like that logo is good enough. Because if it's good enough, then that means that they have to go start their business. They have to face the idea that they could possibly fail, like all that really scary stuff. You don't want to work with somebody like that. You want to work with somebody who's like, yes, I'm afraid, and yes, I need a logo, but like, I'm doing this. I'm ready to get the logo. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to start this business, whether I'm terrified or not, right? Or I'm going to get the help to do that. So that's the reason why you shouldn't feel bad that you're not, if you have an idea that people should say yes, and then like, boom, your payment shows up, you get an inbox, your email says you've got a payment, whatever it is. Don't feel like that, because that's not really the best way to do things anyway. So that's the first one. If you feel like you should be running people's credit cards over the phone right when they talk to you, let's scratch that idea. That's not the best way to do things. The best way to do things is to send somebody a follow-up email with everything that you talked about, and then tell them what the next step is, how to make their payment. Doesn't that just feel better hearing that? Like, don't feel like you have to be this person that's getting people's not information, getting people's like credit cards or whatever over the phone. I don't recommend doing business that way, and I definitely don't want people to treat me that way. So the second thing is, it's not so hard to send that first email, especially when I frame it like that. You're like, okay, I'm just going to send an email. It outlines everything we talked about. It tells you what the next steps are so that you know how to pay. So you don't have to send me another email and be like, I want to pay for this. How do I do it? So that sounds good, right? But then you think about, okay, well, what about the third email, the fourth email? Like, what do we do then, right? So I'm just going to tell you how I do it and what it's like being on both ends of that. So I always send, like I said, the follow-up email. It's got an outline of what we talked about. It tells you what the next steps are. And then I give it a few days. I check in on you. I see if you have any questions about that. I remind you what we're going to work on together and why I think that we're a good fit. And then I like to give people some kind of value. Like I'm always, listening to podcasts or books or, something, or I have like over 100 worksheets at this point. So, I'll think about that person and send them some kind of a valuable thing. And that's usually like, if I still haven't heard from them, I'll send them one more thing that, is some kind of value based. Like I was thinking about this would be a really great resource for you or something like that. Right. And then I'll send them another email and say, just checking in again. Did you have any questions? Did you want to get on another call? How are you feeling about this? And honestly, like, I don't usually have to send more than that, but I will keep asking someone until they give me an answer. Like, we're all adults, and it's not that big of a deal. Like, if they don't want to work with you, they should just tell you. Now, I know that sometimes on the other end of that, it feels like, well, you may not want to give someone an answer either because you haven't totally made up your mind, or it's a good fit for you, but you're scared to invest and you don't want them to talk you out of it. Like, that's a thing too. So, those are all things, they're all, possibilities. But I also know what it's like to be on the other end where someone is following up with me. And I bet that you guys can think of a time where somebody followed up with you and you were so glad because you had lost their email, you had totally forgotten about it, you thought you sent them an email response and they didn't get it, like you didn't actually send it. I mean, I know I do that a lot. I think I've done something maybe and I didn't. That's why I have so many lists. So those kind of things can totally happen. And, also like when we are hiring somebody to solve a problem, sometimes the priority or how we prioritize that problem has changed. If everybody in my family has the flu, that problem is not my top problem. It's not my top pain point right now. And so it's not on the top of my mind, but that doesn't mean that I don't want you to follow up. And it means that I'm grateful when you do, because I'm like, oh yes, I did want to do this thing. We've been sick. I'm glad that you followed up. Um, and then just going back to what it's like to follow up with people and make sure that you're doing that because that's where the sales are. I'm going to give you a really good example that happened to me like within the last few weeks. So I knew I wanted to hire a VA. It was the first time, like I've had contractors do like odds and end kind of things here or there, but I haven't hired anybody that I knew that I would work with for like an extended period of time or, on a very regular basis. And so I was really excited about it. I had been thinking about it for a couple of months and like writing out task lists and thinking about the exact person that I wanted to hire and like putting their job list in Asana and all of these kind of things, which by the way is like a good roadmap for if you want to hire somebody. Like you need to have a pretty good idea of what you want to hire them for so you'll get the right person. But total side note. So I hired a person who I thought was a good fit for most of the things that I needed. And she's wonderful and I'm so glad that we're working together. But then there was this other task that I needed help with and that really wasn't her specialty. So I knew I would need another person. But also those tasks weren't at the top of my pain point list. Like I was really concerned with getting this other person started first and really offloading a lot of the things that I was doing because this other task was really just kind of additional stuff. And that was helping me with some blog posts that I could put on, LinkedIn and going through all of these worksheets and like helping me with spelling and grammar and all the little mistakes that I'm constantly making. So I needed a really specific kind of person. So this one person who I put out just a post on a Facebook group that was like looking for a VA, and I had a lot of applicants, so there was a lot of people to look through. But she applied. She sent me a personal message. She sent me a very detailed, well thought out like proposal of all the things that she does and how she works with people and all of these kind of things. And it was really nice and way more than what I saw other people doing. And so I really appreciated that. but the priority of it had kind of fallen in between like hiring this other person and getting her set up and, you know, the ins and outs of like everyday business running, right? And so it had kind of fallen down in my priority list. And so it was in my inbox and I knew that it was there and I kept thinking like I need to get back to her, but I need to like organize my thoughts and whatever. So then she sent me an email and she had gotten on my email list. So she had gone to my website, she looked up information about me, she, you know, to see like who I was and what I needed. And she signed up for one of my opt-ins on my, you know, freebie that I have on my website. And she found a spelling error inside one of the email series. So it's like you get the freebie, then you get, you know, a welcome series. It's like a series of emails after that, and found a spelling mistake and a pretty obvious one too. It's kind of embarrassing. But like I said, I'm really bad about doing that kind of stuff. I just forget complete words and sentences. And so that really got my attention because that confirmed what I already thought, which was like she was a very detail oriented person and she was really willing to like be organized and professional and do the work. And so she checked all the boxes of the kind of person that I was looking for. Then I let her know like, thank you, and I'm interested in working together. And this is the kind of job that I'm thinking that would be a really good fit for you. And so she sends me some information back about how much it would cost and all of these kind of things. And again, I'm like, here it is, it's sitting in my inbox. I've got to get back to her. I've got to get back to her. But I like have all these other things that have taken priority over that, right? And so then she sent me another email and she said, I was just checking in to see if you had any questions, if you wanted to work together, I'd like to be on your team. And again, she's just solidifying that that is the kind of person that I want to work with. I want to work with someone who is, you know, like I said, responsible, professional, detail oriented. She's going to hold me accountable and I don't have to go find her and talk, you know, and I'll have to micromanage her. And I can tell that because she's showing up in my inbox like she is, and she's being really consistent about it. And I just paid her this week. And I was like, you know, completely bought in. I've never spoken to her in person. You know, which is kind of unusual for me because I like to meet everybody and talk and all that kind of stuff. So we are going to be done talking and having a face-to-face Zoom call. But that's how bought in I was to like, yes, this is the person that I want to hire. And a lot of it was because she followed up. So I probably could have put that job off for who even knows how long. But now she's on board. She has a timeline. She's holding me accountable. And like, I'm going to have these blog posts done for the next 12 months. They're going to be done. And then I'll just keep doing the same thing. So that's pretty exciting. So those are just examples of like what follow-up really looks like and how important it is. And if you are struggling with follow-up, you know, you've got to first rewrite the story, knowing that follow-ups are important. Follow-ups are going to make you more money, and follow-ups are your job. It is not their job to check in with you. It is your job to follow up with them. So you are wasting so much time, you're losing so much leads, you're losing so much money if you're not doing the simple thing of following up. Like the hardest part is getting the lead. The easy part is building the relationship and maintaining the lead. Like you've already done the hardest part. They're already at least 50% bought in. If you've got somebody on a phone call, like they're interested. If somebody is commenting on your post, if they are, you know, signing up for your freebie, they're on your newsletter, like they have some investment in you and it's your job to show up. So that's kind of your little talk for you to kind of keep you motivated and everything like that. But if you need help, you know, find somebody to help hold you accountable. You can do that in several ways. You can find an accountability partner and say, I'm really scared about doing this follow-up. I need a pep talk, hold me accountable, so they can check in on you and say, did you follow up with that person? Another thing that you can do, which I make all of my clients do, is create a lead generation sheet. And it's really easy. It's just a thing that I have in Google. And anytime I do a free call, if I've had like Facebook Messenger conversations, DMs, anything like that, where I've made a connection with somebody, I keep it in a list. And I write this, you know, their name, how we connected, what we talked about. And so that makes it really easy for me to take a quick look and see like, who do I need to check back in on? You know, who had like a big launch and needed some support? Who did I talk to who I think would be a really great podcast guest? Who did I talk to that really needs help with a problem that I solve, and I could check back in on them? I could offer them like one of my freebies. I could invite them to this Facebook group. Um, I am pretty good about really, that's like a really important thing to me is keeping that lead generation sheet, making sure that I'm following through, because like I said, I mean, business is about solving problems and building relationships, and a huge portion of that relationship piece is all in the follow through. So I hope that this gave you guys some encouragement and just some tips on how to be better at following through, insight on what that actually looks like, so that you can kind of rewrite some of these stories yourself and make sure that you're always following through. So, how many times did you follow up with somebody until they give you an answer? And the more times you do it, the easier it gets. And yeah, if you need some accountability, if you've got somebody you need to follow up with this week, drop a comment below, and I will help hold you accountable to that.